the sense of the right rhythm. Commanding the floor were the competition dancers, who used the Saturday matinees for practice sessions. They jealously guarded their territory, intolerant of more frivolous obstacles like children. From my vantage point, their haughty expressions and sudden frozen poses seemed quite comical as they cocked their heads and made pecking movements with their necks like chickens. There could also be something quite intimidating about them, especially when they launched into a gallop during the quick step. Foot soldiers fear cavalry charges for the same reason. There was nobody else up in the balcony except for the woman who checked coats and another who sold refreshments at the kiosk. I think my dad had charged one of them with checking on me from time to make sure I hadn't wandered off. She needn't have worried. My eyes were fixed on the bandstand. At the time, the Jolos Orchestra was one of the most successful dance bands in the country. It consisted of 3 or sometimes 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, 5 saxophones and a rhythm section, and 3 vocalists. The band opened and closed every set and radio broadcast with its signature tune, In the Mood, which was borrowed from the Glenn Miller Orchestra. In fact, they still played a lot of the Miller tunes from the war years, the beautiful and sentimental Moonlight Serenade, Pennsylvania 65000 with the band members shouting out the telephone number in the title, and American Patrol, which was my favorite, probably because it sounded like the theme song from a cops and robbers show. What the outfit lacked in musical adventure, Jolos made up for by hiring arrangers with a keen ear for fleeting dance trends. They had a hit with Must Be Madison and recorded novelty tunes with daft titles like March of the Mods, March of the Voomins, and Go Home, Bill Ludendorff, which my dad wrote with the band's pianist, Sid Lucas. I still had a child's uncritical ear for the corny bell effect created by the horns on Wheels Cha-Cha, and waited for the tango or the paso doble numbers, because of the comical dance moves, or the samba as my dad got to play the maracas and the conga drum. The competitive ballroom dancers used not to care much for vocalists because they pulled the beat around when phrasing, so my dad might only get to sing once or twice during the afternoon. I became impatient for those moments, kicking my leg against a balcony wall, picking idly at a swivel lid mounted on the tabletop, until I pulled out my finger, all grey and powdered with ash. Finally, my father was called to the microphone to sing a Spanish number. It was a language that he could actually speak. He once made the Spanish wife of a friend of mine blush when she inquired where he had learned the Spanish tongue. In bed, he replied. I believed that this was true. His talent for learning songs phonetically meant that he was able to fool most people when called upon to sing in Italian, French, or even Yiddish. The Argentine international hit Quando Caliente el Sol and Peppino de Capri's tremulous Italian pop hit Roberta, sung in Spanish, were 2 rumbas that I heard him sing during those afternoons. Eventually recorded for the wonderfully titled Go Latin with Los album, on which Ross also sang Richie Valens' La Bamba. My father didn't have the appearance of a typical romantic leading man. He was only 5'5" and wore black horn-rimmed glasses, much like the ones I've sported most of my career. His hair was slicked tight at the sides and swept up into a discreet jet-black pompadour, until the fashion for brushing your hair forward caught up with him around 1965, when he started to buy Chelsea boots with Cuban heels from Toppers on Carnaby Street. In 1961, my dad was 33. The boys in the band, as he always referred to them, seemed like older men to me, but they were probably only in their late 30s and 40s. They wore matching band uniforms, shawl-collared jackets of burgundy or baby blue, and dress pants with a satin side stripe. My father wore a dark lounge suit for the matinees, and evening dress when the occasion demanded it. The idea that you wore a suit to go to work became so instilled in me that to this day, the temperature must soar well above 100 degrees Fahrenheit before I will remove my jacket. One evening in 1980, when I'd already had my own brief moment of pop infamy, my dad and I were talking to Jolos's former singing star, Rose Brennan, and the dancer Lionel Blair, in an area curtained off from a hotel ballroom in Lancaster Gate. On the television monitor, I could see Mr. Loss conducting his band in the style that was familiar from my childhood. He still shot the point of his baton to the floor and then to the ceiling with one sharp flick of the wrist, with his little finger daintily extended. He still bounced vigorously up onto